the electorate is going to do.
Well, I think there's one group of people we typically know what they're going to do.
Hold on.
That is white women.
What they gonna do, Diara? What they gonna do?
72% of white women voted for Kemp over Abrams. Y'all, please, somebody. Maybe this, Billie Jean King, are you listening? Can you get all the white women together, please, for a conference? I'll see if I get Hillary there too. And we can just have a conference with all these white women so we can get this figured out. Why?
I think that might need to be the opposite of what happens. I think the strategy needs to be divide and conquer.
Okay. Because together it's not making for.
That's ridiculous. And again, this, I always do a little preface when it's just me and my thoughts and vibes, and absolutely no data behind this. But I wonder how much of those voting trends with white women have to do with these cultural tropes. Like, is it like just impossible for majority of white women in the South or majority of white women to like want to empower a Black woman because of the trope of like the historical dynamic of where a Black woman is in society? Even if you're not an affluent white woman, but maybe in your head you're like, this person's supposed to be taking care of, my home,
I think that's absolutely right. I think so much of this is like steeped in the legacy of slavery and white supremacy. Like, I mean, I remember in 2007 campaigning for Hillary, and I was on the phone with somebody, and well, this is more to just like how it then plays into like misogyny, right? And this voter said to me, "I'd rather vote for that N than vote for that C, UNT."
Oh wow!
And I think, and just thinking about History Month, to your point, and seeing that like Black men got to vote before white women, like I think there is, and not to say that like Black men have like more power in American society, but I do think misogyny plays a huge, huge role, obviously, in our culture around how these elections play out. And I think for somebody like Stacey Abrams, who looks like Stacey Abrams, doesn't have a husband, I think people are like, they don't want that.
I think that's right. Moya Bailey coined misogynoir, which is like the specific misogyny against Black women for a reason. Because I think there is something there about how Black women get treated.
Continuing on this election theme, like I wanted to stop for a minute. We have lots of complaints, criticisms, things we could do differently and all of this jazz. But I'm Gen X. As a Gen Xer, as an auntie, as somebody who is perpetually worried about, can I continue to live in this country? I wanted to take a moment to send a love letter to Generation Z, thanking the young people for saving our democracy in these midterm elections. That's my news this week. It is all love for the young people. Young, diverse voters, Black and Latino. That is specifically what this statistic is about. Young, diverse voters between the ages of 18 and 29 had the second highest youth voter turnout in almost 30 years. And this is particularly important because all I heard, again, Miles, to the thing about, what the news was saying was that the young people weren't going to turn out. The young people especially weren't going to turn out for the Dems because their issues weren't being reflected in Biden's agenda. They were disenfranchised. They didn't get enough on the student loan piece, blah, blah, blah. And in fact, youth voter turnout was at 31% in the 9 battleground states: Florida, Georgia, Michigan, North Carolina, New Hampshire, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. 89% of Black youth and 68% of Latino youth voted for a Democratic U.S. House candidate. And in Wisconsin, where the incumbent Democratic governor, Tony Evers, just barely held on to his bid for reelection and held on to his seat, the youth vote is the thing that made the difference. And so I want to shout out Gen Z, the most diverse generation, with more than half of the folks in that generation being people of color, 20% identifying as LGBTQ. This is the vanguard, baby. This is the new America. And I think these young people are showing up and showing out to tell you that you are not going to make them apathetic. You're not going to silence their voice and their votes. And I think this has incredible implications for everything coming down the pike. Latinos, for example, are the second largest voting bloc. 30% of Latinos are 18 to 29. So however you've thought about Latino politics, it has to change, because not only are 30% of them 18 to 29, but 30% of Latinos are under 18. So this is a wave that is coming, and their politics are very different from their grandmas and their grandpas' politics. In Georgia, 63% of young voters backed Warnock, compared to 36% of young voters backing Walker. That has huge implications for this runoff. If those young people show up in the runoff the way they showed up in the election, it's a wrap. And so I want to tip my hat to the young organizers who are out here every single day knocking it down. I got 2 little ladybugs who I love, Mary Pat Hector in Georgia, and Shelly in Arizona, who are out there on the front lines every single day organizing young people to vote. And to all, there's a zillion organizers. Like, this is the thing, right? Like, there are so many people who are making sure that young people vote. And I just wanted to make a little space on the pod to say thank you, that we support you, that like you are the hope. Like, the thing that people always would say to me when I was leading schools is, what makes you hopeful? And I'm like, it's the young people. Like, the young people are super clear about what it's going to take to deliver the kind of world that I want to live in. And so I want to thank the young people for showing up in this election cycle.
The thing that stuck out to me is something that you said, that you mentioned before in another conversation, is that the pundits got it wrong, is that people didn't project that young people were this engaged. People didn't believe that young people would be engaged and vote. People didn't, there are all these myths. And I think about the other thing as an organizer is that every little bit counts, that like all the TikToks, all those Instagram posts, all the people were learning and people were paying attention, and young people understood what was on the line. It wasn't just like parents and homeowners and people who owned a ton of property who were like, wow, something's at stake here. The youngest people were like, okay, I got to do something. And it is cool. I think about what comes after the protest. There's this question about like, will people be engaged? And this election, I think, was a reminder that they are engaged, and understanding election as just one of the many things to do.